No, no. No, he'll understand.
Are you sure?
Yes.
The movie begins with a woman named Sarah who intends to take a shower, but when she got into the tub, she was electrified and didn't make it. 1 year later, we see a girl named Elise who comes to live in the house of her husband, Paul. He married this woman after his wife couldn't survive the electric shock in the tub. Paul is a businessman who rarely stays at home for work, so he invited Elise to his house to look after his 12-year-old son, Marcus. According to Paul, he will be returning home in the next week from boarding school. However, when Elise came here, it turned out that he was already at home because his school was suddenly closed due to the chickenpox virus spreading. Elise then begins to dig deeper into him, leading them to an introductory chat, and Elise optimistically states that they will be as good friends as Paul hopes. When Elise asked something else, she found that Marcus was quite strange, because even though he was still young, he could talk like an adult. The next day, Paul called Elise because he wanted to talk to his son, so Elise gave the phone to Marcus, who was in the shower, and Paul started asking about the cause of Marcus's school holiday. What annoyed Elise, while she was talking to Paul, Marcus started touching her from behind. She was very uncomfortable with that, and then left. The next day, Marcus saw the postman come to deliver letters to his family. He then gives the letter to Elise, but he hides one. As time goes by, Elise finds out that Marcus is a spoiled child. He doesn't even have any friends in his neighborhood. Elise took good care of Marcus, but Marcus always looked after his own stepmother in a bad way. A few days later, Elise and Marcus went to the airport to pick up Paul when he returned home. Paul looked very happy to see his family again, and they immediately got into the car with Elise driving. On the way, Marcus showed Paul his tongue to make sure he hadn't contracted chickenpox. When Elise's focus was disturbed by Paul's touch, their car almost collided with the truck in front, but Elise managed to avoid it. After the three of them arrived home, Marcus went outside to play, and Paul went to his room with Elise to relieve the longing between them. Paul advised Elise that Marcus was a good boy, and all she needed to do was watch over him. Regardless, Elise expresses concern about Marcus, who had to be very stoic due to being abandoned by his mother at an early age. That night, they all went to a restaurant for dinner. Here Paul asks Elise about who took his money from his desk. Elise explains that she didn't take the money and accuses Marcus of taking it to pay for the taxi. He admitted her accusation, but he only took 300, not 1,000, as Elise thought. Because of this problem, Elise searched Marcus's room after they came home. She doesn't find any money here, but she does find a torn letter that Marcus hid in a book. Hi, before we continue the story, make sure you have subscribed. Thank you. One day when the three of them were at the pool, Marcus told Paul that Elise didn't like him. He spoke like that because he knew that Elise searched his room the previous day. However, Paul didn't take his words seriously, and Elise just acted casual even though she heard their conversation. Suddenly, Marcus was hallucinating on seeing a woman in the pool, but when his father came, she was gone. The next day, Elise went to Marcus's school to find out what was wrong with Marcus. Dr. Kessel, Marcus's teacher, reveals that Marcus has caused a lot of trouble at school to the point that students and local residents are fed up with his behavior, which has crossed the line of normality. Dr. Kessel had sent a summons to Marcus's father, but he never came because, as we saw, the letter had been torn up by Marcus. Initially, the school accepted Marcus's behavior, assuming he was facing difficult times after his mother's death. But after 2 years passed, his behavior got worse, so Dr. Kessel decided to kick him out. One night, Elise and Paul go to a party where Elise meets a woman named Sophie. Sophie said that Sarah used to be her best friend, who suddenly died in the bathtub. Elise asked what really happened, but Sophie told her to ask Paul about what happened. On the way home, Paul explained that he had deliberately sold his former house to Shopee as an attempt to forget the tragic accident that happened to Sarah. He revealed that Sarah died of a heart attack in the bathroom. Arriving home, Elise tells Paul that she has spoken to Dr. Kessel and that there is no chickenpox at Marcus's school. She said that Marcus had killed a cat, so Dr. Kessel threw him out of school. Elise becomes afraid and confused about Marcus, but Paul calms her down, saying that Marcus only found his mother in the bathroom, and Paul asks Elise to get to know him better. The next day, Elise learned the details of Sarah's fatal accident from Shopee. Shopee revealed that at that time there was an electric heater next to the tub, and the insulation had been damaged, causing current to flow through the pipes and taps. She guessed that if Sarah didn't have a heart condition, the electric shock would have just shocked her. After the accident, Paul sold the house to her to start a new life with his son. Elise now believes Marcus has ended his own mother. She tried to convince Paul of this, but Paul didn't believe what she said, and they ended up arguing. One night, Elise discovered a hole in the attic that led through to her bedroom. Here, Elise suspects that Marcus made this hole so he could see his parents. Elise then angrily comes to Marcus and asks him why he wants to peep on them. Marcus explains that he gets very turned on when he does it, and he also admits to having done the same thing to Sarah, but he doesn't like her because she lacks acrobatics, and his father is getting older. He offers the truth about Sarah's death on the condition that he wants to see Elise without the cloth, and Elise agrees. And Marcus here admitted that Sarah's death wasn't an accident, but a situation he had set up, and his father was unaware of it. A few days later, Elise took Paul up to the attic to show him the hole, but somehow the hole disappeared when they checked. Elise explained that Marcus always peeked at them through the hole, but Paul didn't believe her words at all. One night, Elise looked very disturbed after finding out that Marcus was Sarah's killer. She felt threatened that she was going to be the next victim, so he told Paul about this. The next day, Elise saw a psychiatrist named Dr. Viorn, and she was trying to tell her that Marcus had ended Sarah. Unfortunately, Dr. Vorn's response didn't satisfy Elise, leaving her frustrated and drowning in fear. One day, Elise decided to end her fear by doing evil to Marcus. But luckily, Paul managed to stop her, and as a result, Elise was sent to a mental hospital because she was thought to have lost her sanity. Several months later, Elise recovered and she was sent home from hospital with Paul to pick her up. She was immediately taken for a walk in a park where Paul talked about his new plans. Paul expressed his desire to move house to forget the bad memories that had happened and start their life again from scratch. However, Elise refuses, saying that running away never achieves anything. She wants to stay. After that, she talked to Marcus while taking his dog to play. Marcus tells her that he is happy with her recovery, and he hopes that from now on, they can respect each other. Elise asked, "Are you going to end me?" Marcus says, "Yes." Elise then gave him a kiss on the lips and then went back to inviting the dog to play. When she saw the car coming, she threw the ball into the road and the dog chased it. Marcus ran to try to save the dog from danger, but he got hit by a car and didn't make it. Meanwhile, Elise seemed indifferent to any reaction.